Okay, let's do a hand pour. First thing I'm going to do is, I was using this cup for a spoon rest, so I'm going to get me a paper towel, wipe out the cup so I don't have any colors in there that I don't want. Again, you know, that glass just wipes right out. That tin is a nightmare. Okay, so let's do this. I'm going to get me some plastic. Shake it up real good, make sure it's all mixed around. If you're pouring a lot, then you won't have to shake your plastic. If you do a lot of pours, you know, if you're pouring every day for a week, it'll stay mixed up. But if you let this sit for 3 or 4 weeks, then you're going to get a film on the bottom that looks like this, which looks like a little bitty plastic, but when you turn it, it doesn't move. Its plastic is settled, which a lot of guys complain about on the Lurecraft version. I don't have enough problem with it at this point. We're just going to go with 4 ounces for now. See what kind of mess we can make. Important thing to note about colors: if you go with chartreuse, which is a fluorescent color, okay, you can see also that that settles. See the real dark line there versus the light liquid. You have to shake the fire out of those things to keep them stirred up. A lot of guys will do like a paint can. They put a little tiny nut in there, and that, when they shake it around, it keeps the color separating. So it actually comes out. We're going to go with a watermelon here, see if we can get close to watermelon. To make watermelon, you actually use black, yellow. We're going to put black glitter in there, so we'll get those out. And I believe we're going to want a little motor oil. Maybe a drop or 2. You really have to shake these a lot. I haven't forgotten that I was shaking them. It just takes that much because that yellow will separate out, and you want that color to be evenly spread throughout the whole bottle. I just used this the other day, so that's probably good. Do some black. Now, all the other colors you can add before or after you heat the plastic, except for the fluorescence. If you're trying to develop a color, if you're trying to match a color, then you're going to want to mix that color after you melt your plastic. Again, and that's unless you have to use the fluorescent colors to determine, you know, to make up your color. The reason is, I'll show you in a second here. Okay, here we go. 5. This watermelon recipe is for bulk. They use 7 grams of school bus yellow for 5 gallons of plastic. Well, I don't worry too much about that. Only got a cup here, so basically my ratio is 7 drops of color, 7 drops of yellow to 4 drops of black. My yellow's not yellow enough, really, but we're going to go now. See how easy that dropped out of there? That was because I took my scissors, and instead of cutting the top off the yellow, I poked across in there. You just poke the end of your bottle. See, this one here I cut off, which is bad because this dye, it gets dye all over the place. It makes a huge mess. But if you take and cut a plus in the top of that, you'll get the color you want, and it's much easier not to get extra. Okay. The other thing is, when you make up your colors, the fish, they're not gonna not bite that color because you only put 3 drops of black instead of 6 drops of black. They don't care. I think most colors work because at the time they're presented, the fish can see the bait. I think that's why watermelon's so effective. That's my personal opinion, is it's highly visible under so many different conditions that it makes it a very effective color. This one here I put a plus in, which I need to make a little bit bigger. If you don't get your cross in there, your plus in there good enough, this is what you end up with: colorant that's real hard to get out of the bottle. But all I have to do is expand this a little bit, and it'll drip in there perfectly. If I had known it was going to be this slow, I would have taken 2 seconds to do that. That's good enough. Okay, so here's what your plastic looks like. I like to make sure everything's clean. I don't want contaminants from one color to another. This is what your plastic looks like if you're trying to make a color before you heat it. It looks significantly different than after you heat it. So whenever I'm trying to match a color, I always do it after my plastic is hot. Okay, this